Some Aucklanders still recovering from Tuesday night's storm could be in for a second hit tonight with severe gales and thunderstorms forecast for tonight. With a possibility of coastal tornadoes, almost 200,000 customers lost power earlier in the week, and Vector is warning some customers who have had their power restored may possibly lose it again, particularly coastal areas of West Auckland. Met Service meteorologist Georgina Griffiths tells us what Aucklanders can expect.
Yeah, well, the key thing for Auckland and Northland, who have been quite impacted, particularly in Auckland, is to know it's a very different type of wind event. So that's really, really important. I'll say that again. This is not the big wind numbers that we were putting in on Tuesday night. And we aren't using the widespread wind tool, the broad scale warning in place. We're actually thinking the wind gusts tonight will be brief but localised, so you may not get one. And the biggest risk is out west, of course, those same places that were hardest hit on Tuesday night, places like Muriwai, Piha, Manukau Heads and Awhitu. But the further west you go, the higher the chance of seeing a localised damaging wind gust, 10 o'clock tonight, 11 o'clock tonight,
Damaging?
and then it's all gone.
So what are we talking about?
But not everyone will see it. So that's the difference. We've got little tools, thunderstorm tools are little pieces of severe weather, and we've got the big tool, the widespread warning. So on Tuesday night we had top end wind numbers, 130 plus, all of Auckland affected, everybody was going to see it. This one is quite different, and we're talking because, of course, Auckland is still really vulnerable after the last decent big blow. So this is we're using the little tool, the thunderstorm watch, for damaging straight line wind or a coastal tornado coming onto the beach from the Tasman side tonight. So if you're unlucky, you'll see damaging winds similar to the other night, but most people won't be unlucky.
Right, so from the Tasman side, so that is the west coast, what sort of strength are we talking about?
So gusts 110 to 120 kilometres an hour, straight line winds or damaging tornado on the beach line. Tonight, just for an hour and a half, something like that when it comes on, just along the front. So those numbers are lower than what we had on Tuesday night, and we're not saying this time that everyone will see it. But I still think we're in for a wet and windy night out there. It's not ideal, of course, if your property's still impacted, if your power lines are still down and you've got half a tree hanging out the back. So we're being quite clear around messaging again on this one. Not everyone will get impacted, but if, obviously I wouldn't be outside because there's still a lot of debris. So around that 10 o'clock period tonight out west, particularly West Coast Auckland, brace again. It's going to be a short and sharp change, and if you miss out, awesome. Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. You said quite strong messaging again and gave me a little smile. And I think that's a little bit of a... it's a response to the sense that the Met Service didn't warn people enough on Monday and Tuesday. You were very explicit on Checkpoint on Tuesday night. You said that Auckland was in for a really unusual night.
I did, and I thought we were going to get our bottom spanked or something similar to that.
I think, yeah.
Yes.
And you talked about the very strong winds that we were going to get, and we did in fact get.
Yes.
And Vector were on standby, and Vector are your clients. You clearly warned them.
Other power companies, civil defence, etc. And so there were no surprises in the Auckland infrastructure.
So why didn't people hear those messages?
Oh, our clients get it, and they knew that was a top end wind number, 130 kilometres an hour plus, and that plus is really important across all of Auckland. You do not see that every day. So we're talking, been 6 months since the blow, a westerly blow like this, and we had top end numbers. They all stood up to attention and got ready. I think from a public perception point of view, if you had the Met Service app or went to the website and there's the big red banner saying wind warning in force for all of Auckland, and quite a big number in that warning, you would have known we were quite serious around that event. But I think a lot of our public messaging gets lost when it's Commonwealth Games and things like that. There was a lot going on. Also, as I mentioned, those large national scale views, events. You had snow down south and we had gales and heavy rain and lots of lightning to start. So there was a lot going on. Sometimes Auckland does become a little bit lost in the national conversation around severe weather. But of course, we don't handle severe weather very well because we don't get it very often.
No, we don't get it very often. And I had a mate in Wellington saying to me, this isn't really severe weather, is it? As a Wellingtonian.
Yes. So we do get lots of people saying, the deck chair's going to fall over.
Yeah, that's
Auckland.
right. Is your barbecue going to topple?
Yes.
And so when Auckland gets a warning that the weather is severe,
a big warning, we go down hard.
And we have to take that seriously. We have to stop what we're doing and listening.
So I'd recommend, in case if you don't know what's going on, or just use the app, use the use the website that's got the big red number and you hit the button, you actually might have to read it, or you can come onto our social, because we were there saying this will be bad. We're expecting a really significant wind event for Auckland after dark, and it was a pretty intense couple of hours there. Lots of power outages. The power companies knew that because they have a very good gauge of how much power goes out with different strength wind gusts, and that was a big one for them. They knew, oh dear, well, let's get ready. But I also think, the damage equation isn't linear, John. What I mean by that is, if it had a blow a month ago from the same direction, we wouldn't be seeing the damage we saw in Auckland quite so bad. Okay, so it had been 5-6 months since we'd seen a severe westerly. Okay, so a long time between blows from a particular direction always makes the damage equation worse. Also, saturated soils, which we didn't really have in the region this time, makes everything fall over. That wasn't the case this time. But also, the bigger the number, the bigger the mess, and that's the key thing. So just because people don't realise 110 kilometre an hour gust makes a mess, once you get into 120, you're looking really widespread for that damage, and then 130 or 140 for Auckland, just talking to Auckland here, because Canterbury and Wellington are way better, way more robust, we start to see the wheels really fall off. So the bigger the number, and these are small changes in wind gusts, the bigger the number, the bigger the mess.
Georgina Griffiths from the Met Service.